Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here. And, yeah, Massive Beer Review Classic, we're going to call this. Because it definitely is. It's an American classic. Very much a Maine classic, but I'd call it American classic. It's from a brewery that opened in the 80s. It's quite a long time ago. Gearys. Gearys Brewing. Little bummer. The owner, David Geary, passed away not too long ago. I have not had any of the... I haven't had this beer, but I haven't had any Gearys in probably several years. Last time when I was up in Maine was the last time I had them, and that was pre-pandemic. But my buddy George, George, Massive Troll Reviews, he is just wanderlusting the crap out of his life, and he just went up to Maine. And he grabbed a bunch of beers. He was passing by my house. He said, hey, man, let's grab a beer. Grabbed the beer. He gave me some beers. That's how it works. That's how it works, baby. So let's dive into the sucker, see what's going on. We have a Maine Summer Ale from Gearys Brewing Company, New England's first craft brewery. I believe it was 1983, maybe they opened. Maine's first, Maine's finest. 6% alcohol by volume. And that'd be it. Label classic stylings on what you'd find in a old school classic Americanized kind of bottle, bottled beer, 12 ounce, kind of old school labeling, everything about it screams kind of old school, and we're here for it. We're absolutely 100% here for it. So let's see what's what. Summer Ale, so it could go a bunch of different ways. I know they definitely lean heavily English in a lot of the stuff that they do. So it's a summer ale, so it kind of looks like a little English bitter in coloration, but it's summer ale. I don't know if we get a date on this cap. Do we get a date in the bottle or cap? They're super old school, so they might date on the actual cap. I don't really see anything, but like I said, my buddy got it when he was up there, so it's pretty darn fresh. Yeah, but it looks almost like, like a bitter. It does. Just dark copper color, kind of like a shilling ale, something along those lines. Just barely off-white head, soft murkiness. So it looks all the part of like a little summer chugger, English summer chugger. It's good nose. It's kind of leaning that way for me too. It has this nice kind of rich kind of maltiness to it. Very much kind of like an English, just a English malt, base English malt. Oh man, it smells really good. Man, nice sweet maltiness. English two-rowy kind of maltiness. And just a little fluttering bittering in there. Again, I would probably lean like old nuggety Cascade, not Cascade, Kent Golding kind of thing going on here. It smells like a slightly hopped up, it smells like a bitter. It smells like a slightly hopped up malt forward beer. Not in a negative way. Let's dive in. Cheers, y'all. Oh yeah. It's gotta be a bitter. I would imagine it'd be a bitter. This has got a nice kind of pop of bitterness on it. It's a really, really tasty malt base, too. It just comes through with this nice, rich, slightly more chocolatey, caramelly kind of maltiness. That's why I'm leaning more like English two-row malt. But then it has a really decent bittering where I wouldn't be surprised if it had something West Coast Pacific in it. It's like almost like Cascadey to a certain extent. I wouldn't doubt that there are some English influences in there. It doesn't come off super West Coast resonance, but that bittering pop is quite a bit bigger than what I typically get from beers like this. Man, that's tasty. That's very, very tasty. I'm surprised how bittering it is. Not having had this beer before, I just assume, a Maine Summer's Ale. My mind immediately goes to Allagash White, obviously, because that is basically Maine Summer Ale. But, I was thinking, okay, I know it's an English-leaning brewery. It's probably going to be something with a little bit of malt touch to it. But drink a little bit more kind of crisp, a little bit more lager-like. Right when I poured it, it kind of, threw me off a little bit. I was like, not expecting that. I was like, hey, I think we're going with something a little bit more oomph. Now, it is 6%, so it's got a higher ABV on it. But the way this malt base kind of comes off with that rich, nice, delicious, it's like almost like a caramel biscuitiness kind of going on there with this nice, really kind of aggressive bittering. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if there's an old school C-hop Cascade Chinook in here on top of some English stuff, because there is this tannic tea-like kind of bittering thing going on in combination with that nice pop of an aggressive bitterness. Man, this is really, really tasty stuff. Yeah. I don't even know where I'd classify it, though. I mean, classically, I wouldn't call it a summer ale. I guess the English bitter, but it's that West Coast bitterness, that pop of that thing that I keep calling a sea hop. That's where it kind of gets away from like English bitter, English best bitter kind of thing going on here. So, and maybe it's a perfect summation of what Gearys is, which is this kind of traditional English influenced brewery. They're bringing the Americanized version of what they're doing here, not in a negative way. They're just putting their own spin on it. It has just that extra level of bitterness that just adds this nice little pop to it. Makes it for a really tasty beer. I dig it. I think it's fun. I think it kind of threw me for a loop because I was expecting something quite a bit different. And honestly, probably one of the better like English influenced American style beers that I've had, or English influenced American born beers that I've had. Very much kind of civil lifey kind of that kind of thing where it has this nice kind of core original OG kind of roots floating around in it. At the same time, it has its own kind of Americanized spin on it, and very traditional, but with its own sensibility. Kind of what I think breweries should do. Take great beer and put their own spin on it. Who would have thunk it? But yeah, I dig this quite a bit. I think this is very tasty. It's going to be for everybody? No. I don't think this is a beer style that maybe a lot of people gush over. But for someone of my ilk, I dig on beers like this, and I'm really glad to try it. Thank you very much, George, for dropping it off. So yeah, a little bit of Gearys up in this piece. Summer ale. Again, is it one of the better English bitters? That's where I'm going to line this up as, that I've had as of late. Yeah, but a very Americanized version of that. Value and availability, no idea. If someone wants to chime in who knows Gearys and the price points, that would be fantastic. And leave you with, if you like what we like this. If you like English bitters, best bitters, shilling ale, stuff like that, and you're okay with that little bit of Americanized twist of a little bit of aggressive hoppiness, and it definitely has that old school English tannic like tea-like hoppiness, but there is this pop of this sea hop, this Chinook Cascade thing going on that gives it its own kind of personality. So if those two worlds you like colliding, you'll dig on this. So there you go. Reviewing the books. Gearys Brewing, have you been there? I've never been. I've just had their beers when I've gone up that way. Have been to the brewery. Have you had a bunch of their beers? What's your favorite beer by them? Have you had this beer? If you've had, please let me know. All that fun stuff down there. So there you go. Reviewing the books. Hopefully you all enjoyed. Hopefully you're enjoying a little bit of a old school beer right now. We'll see you next time. Cheers, y'all.